Welcome to Diverse Orange, our conversations about diversity here in Central Florida. My guest today is Michael Andriano. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Terry. Thanks so much for having me today.
You bet. So, Michael, where do you come from? What's your background? What's your heritage?
I grew up in Central Florida, born and raised. Apparently, we're very rare these days, but grew up in Oviedo. We used to be a small town, and growing up there, my father was the pastor of a pretty large Christian church, um, and decided that I wanted to become a lawyer, and that's the path that I've been on for almost 7 years now.
All right. So, what was it like growing up in the not yet big Oviedo?
It was nice. I appreciate my upbringing, especially having a foundation of faith. But also, it was quite challenging being from a place that at the time really didn't value diversity. Since I was a child, I've always known that I was different, and that feeling didn't really come to full fruition until I was old enough to understand that I am a gay man. And my parents didn't take that fact well. When I came out at 20, I was sent to conversion therapy. When that did not work, I was kicked out of the home, and struggled for many years coming to terms with who I was, and my family did as well. But today, I'm very grateful for all those challenges, and my family were able to come to terms with that for who I am. And I've had their full support for a long time. And I recognize that kind of healing and grace is not the case for many LGBTQ people. So I am blessed in that regard. And, going through that experience definitely helped shape the path that my career path is as a lawyer. I wanted to help and serve people. I know what it feels like, even still sometimes, to be disregarded, devalued, stigmatized. So my thought process is, if I can lead with kindness in whatever that I do, encouragement and compassion, I'm taking steps to fulfill that purpose of serving others, and try my best to not make people feel the way that I felt for a long time.
So, you said from a young age you felt you were different. How did that show up? What made you feel that way?
Candidly, I since I can remember, I always felt a certain type of way um, towards boys. And before you're in high school, you don't know what that is really. You're not familiar with that sexually or attraction and stuff like that. But I always felt different towards boys. And I had girlfriends, a few here and there, and it just never felt right. And once you're older, 13, 14, 15, um, social media came about when, at that time when I was growing up, and the internet, and you just kind of research more about yourself and trying to figure out what those feelings were, because I could never go and speak to my family about those feelings during that time. So I kind of had to figure it out on my own. In that town, I didn't find people who were like me, or who felt the way that I did. So it was very challenging to come to terms with that.
Did the people around you, your classmates, your friends, view you as different as well?
I was not out. I don't think I can't recall if I ever even told anybody when I was in high school, because of the fact that my dad was the pastor of this large church, so we kind of knew everybody. So I didn't want that getting back to my family, and so it was a fear. That fear kept me hiding for a long time. So I was really very alone.
And then you came out, you said, when you're 20. How did that change things?
That was very hard. And, I was sent to conversion therapy, kind of did a wayward path for a little bit. And you finally realize that, this happened for a reason. God has a purpose for what I've gone through, for me to share my story, to make a difference in the world, the little difference that, me as a single person can, to try to appreciate people with different backgrounds and experiences. It's a wonderful mix, diversity, inclusion, that enables us to make it work because we have a shared goal in humanity. We should, of bettering communities and people that we serve, it's not just about checking boxes or excluding people. To me, at its most basic level, is about valuing people and all people, you know. And all these differences should be embraced and not excluded from the table. We learn best from each other based on our differences. We're all the same human race at the end of the day.
Before you were out, when you were appearing as a white heterosexual male in a community that has a history of racism, what were your thoughts or experiences with other kinds of diversity in your community?
I just always I'm an observer, so I've always been kind of a people watcher and observe a room that I'm in, or wherever I am, and I just really observed how even Christians treated non-white Christians or non-white people, or how other people at school treated Black people differently or gay people differently, because I knew some gay people in school, and it was always very unnerving to me, because I didn't understand why people were being treated differently just based on, I guess, the classification. When those people didn't do anything wrong, they were just being stigmatized because of who they were.
And other than your family, as you entered your 20s, did you have experiences of feeling that stigmatization?
I mean, I think it's always in the back of my head, whatever room that I walk in, even still to this day. Is that what people are only thinking of me? Is someone going to view me a certain way because they know that I'm gay? Because I'm out. I'm, as far as we know, I'm the first LGBTQ president of the Orange County Bar Foundation, and even when I have people that do like me, I still, when I'm giving speeches or just out at luncheons or whatever, I still have that little fear in the back of my head that people are looking at me in a certain way. I'm not sure that that'll ever go away, or if that's something that's just in my head, but that was very ingrained. It's very ingrained based on experiences that I've had growing up, especially with my family.
Can you envision anything, any situation, any community where that might change in you? That feeling of
I mean, I do feel like Orange County celebrates diversity. We do a great job here in Orange County, whether it's Orange County government or Orange County Bar Association. They are very focused on diversity, and I feel like even our citizens, everyday public citizens, value diversity, and they value people's differences. And diversity has kind of become a dirty word lately, diversity and inclusion in some spaces. I don't feel like that's the case here in Orange County, and I appreciate that, and that's why I love living here. But those words, diversity and inclusion, are not divisive. They're not dirty. That position kind of fails to recognize the value that different perspectives bring to the table. And I'm grateful now, as a 36-year-old, to be in a place like Orange County who does celebrate that.
If I understand it, you have had reconciliation with your family, and there's understanding there. How has that affected the church that your father has?
He shortly after I came out, a couple of years later, he ended up separating from the church due to leadership issues and whatnot. And after that time, he approached me. Both my parents did, to ask for forgiveness and just to work through this, because I was kind of ready to move on and just accept the fact that was how it was going to be. But that was back in 2011. It's 2024. And we've been through it, but we worked through it. I think that they just ended up focusing on unconditional love and what that really means, and kind of the dichotomy that was coming out of the church. The things that people were saying about me and about other people like me was just not love. That's not what Christ's love, that message, was supposed to be. So there's been a lot of therapy, a lot of conversations, but it's been a story of healing and grace and courage, for sure.
Well, we love hearing stories of healing and grace, and thank you for joining me today for this little conversation about diversity here in Central Florida. Today, looking at our sexual orientation and preference diversity. And we want to thank all of you for joining us today for this issue of Diverse Orange. Thanks.
Thanks, Terry.